We saw Bucky Irving also take a hit directly to the outer surface of that hip, and we saw him limping pretty significantly after the game. We saw him patch up with a bandage on the lateral side of his hip. That pretty much tells us that he had a hip pointer injury, which is an inflammation of this bursa right over here, over the femur, or a bruise to the top of that iliac crest over there, which is taken by direct impact. It does require a certain period of time off, but it's mainly a pain management issue. So it's possible that he's back next week, but I would estimate that he's out for about a 1 week absence. That could be flexed into a 2 week absence or down to no week. So we're talking about a 0 to 2 week absence for Bucky Irving due to a hip pointer injury. Sorry if I said hip flexor earlier. I definitely meant to say hip pointer. Trevor Lawrence is honestly another player that I'm not really expecting to see back for this fantasy season, just because he already had that grade 2 AC joint separation, which they were contemplating surgery on, and now he also ended up having a pretty significant concussion, which I'm also anticipating him to be out for about 2 weeks for. The season for the Jags also doesn't seem like it's going anywhere significant, so it seems unnecessary to put him at further risk for injury. I'm not super worried about Baker Mayfield. We saw that he had a pretty significant ankle inversion injury where his ankle twisted inwards and it got pinned by a player that stepped on it. The good thing about inversion sprains is that they're typically involving the lateral ankle ligaments, so the CFL, the ATFL, the PTFL, and those are injuries that you can typically play through. Baker Mayfield has been known for playing through multiple injuries, so I'm not overly concerned about him, and I would anticipate that he doesn't miss any time, and max he would miss 1 week in my opinion. McConkey, I'm kind of concerned about. So he ended up aggravating that shoulder injury, but then he also had a knee injury. We saw his last play, he ended up going down on a hyperflex knee. We saw before how that can put the PCL at risk. Also with the hyperflexion, you can put a bone bruise at risk or a meniscus injury. And it sounds like they're going to get an MRI today. We'll see what the MRI says, but for right now, I am projecting a possible multi-week absence for McConkey, and we'll see how that goes. But when we're talking about hyperflexion, impacts it directly to the knee. The PCL is in the differential, bone bruises in the differential, and a meniscus injuries in the differential. All those are pretty concerning for multi-week absences. Taysom Hill, unfortunately, seems to be done for this season as well. He took a direct blow to the anterior tibia. That does place him at concern for a PCL injury. Hyperextension also places him at risk for a bone bruise and a meniscus as well. ACL is a little bit less common, but they're already pretty confident. It seems like that he's out for the season, so I would be a little bit higher concerned for an ACL than typically with that kind of mechanism. It's possible that they already did a Lockman and an anterior or posterior drawer on him where they test for stability of the ACL and PCL. So if you're doing the motion forward here, as you see on the left-hand side, that shows instability of the anterior cruciate ligament, and if that tibia slides forward easily without any kind of endpoint, we get concerned about a total rupture of the ACL. Same deal for the posterior. If you're able to push backwards on the tibia and there's not really any kind of firm endpoint there, then we get concerned about a PCL rupture. So it sounds like one of those is in play for Taysom Hill, but regardless, I would expect him to be out for the season.